hello there. This is Louis, aka Louis the Frenchy Monette, and you're watching, obviously, Norton Consultations. Alright, we got the manager of S.W.A.G, the master of Drip Drip himself, Mr. Winston A. Marshall, aka Mr. Marshall for me. How are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm Mr. Marshall. Goddamn, that's my dad, dude. I know that's a tired out, soon-to-be dad joke, and since I'm adopting a dog, I guess that sort of counts. But you know,
hey, I'm polite. Apparently, it's my shtick calling everyone Mr. or Mrs. So
that's good manners. That's what that shit is right there. Your mama and your daddy raised you right, or your daddy and your daddy, your mama and your mama. No judgment. Whatever your family is.
Or 15 years in customer service will do that to you, sir.
That'll do it. Well, I don't know. 15 years of customer service would be like, "What's up, bitch?" Like, I also didn't even ask if I could swear on here. So,
bro, go all out. This is after hours.
All right, bet.
All right. So yeah, this is setting the tone of how we're gonna do this conversation. This is gonna be a fun time, Winston. I can't wait to get deeper into your story. So let's go dive deep into it right away. How did you get involved with the league? Like the beginning?
Essentially what ended up happening with me is a friend of mine, her name is Cheyenne. She's a big time YouTuber herself. I mean, she is. I wouldn't argue I'm a big time YouTuber, but she's a big time YouTuber. She told me like, hey, you should check out this thing called the Schmoedown. They have like a pretty incredible fan base, and it's a lot of fun what they do and stuff. Like, do you want to come check out a match? And I said, sure, fuck it, why not? And so I checked it out, and I've said a number of times that the first match I ended up seeing at that taping was Lon versus Cody. And for those that aren't familiar with that match, I mean, Lon as the professor comes out with a syllabus and like the things we're going to cover during the match, and how Cody is a failure of a student and all this shit, like full-blown character work. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? This is hilarious. And I was just sitting there, and, you know, I did pretty well. I want to say I hit 8 of the questions in round 1. I hit like probably about 50% of the round 2 questions. And then, you know, I did decent in round 3. I don't remember the numbers beyond that, but I was just like taking notes on my phone. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I happened to run into both Mark and Christian. Super nice. And just off the cuff, I was like, this is dope. Like, I don't know how I get involved, but I'd like to. They're like, you want to just play? I was like, yeah, okay. So Christian and I had a miscommunication. I had told him that if I was going to do anything, Inner Geekdom would have been the way to go. And this is before Inner Geekdom became like Inner Geekdom. And so like it had started to take that turn, I want to say that year that I came in. But he thought I had said teams. So he was like, cool, you have a teammate and everything, right? And I was like, oh, shit, I have to bring somebody. And so Eric is a good buddy of mine from college. And I literally was just like, who I know that knows movies? Eric knows hell about movies. I'll call Eric and see if he wants to do this thing. And the rest is history, man.
All right.
Yeah. So you started obviously on a pretty successful team in World's Finest, making your way all the way to a #1 contenders match. What
was that him or is that me? Made it all the way to a #1 contenders match is the last thing I heard.
Yeah, same here.
What did it? Sorry, that was me. I think. What did it mean? What was it like in that experience as you were playing, racking up those wins?
I mean, the funny thing was, I kind of went into it like having seen it, that I was like, oh, I get to talk shit. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just dicking around. So like our first match was Kingsman, and I'm meeting Devon and now who shall not be named. Like they were chill and we were just all having fun and whatever. And I was like, okay, this was like a good time, like whatever. Then like, you know, I'm a sucker for, I know I'm not supposed to read YouTube comments, but I couldn't help myself when it was us versus Trek. Like people warned us, like Christian was like, hey, Trek is like mad good team. Jason Inman, like, you know, Inner Geekdom champion, and Scott Mance, like he's like an industry professional, like they know their shit. Like Team Trek used to be a tear. I was like, oh, okay. Sure, whatever. I told Eric, me and him were just like, fuck it, let's go. And I remember having taped the match and having won by 1, I believe, and how that all played out. And, you know, I was, again, talking shit the post thing, but I thought to myself when the video comes out, Shouldn't read the comments. I'm gonna do it though. All this shit, every reaction video, everything. Yo, Trek got this. The fuck is the world's finest. Like, ain't gonna do nothing. First one that's against a whack ass team anyway. Blah blah blah. And then we win. Everybody's like, oh, all right, I guess, sure. And so that launches to, bless you. That launches to our number one contender against Shire Wolves. And at that point, I actually knew what the Schmoedown was. Like, I had genuinely watched enough matches, things like that. So I knew what we were up against. I mean, those ladies we were literally in the way of their destiny. So don't get me wrong. I was like, all right, we can do this, until we started the match. And I was like, we can't do this. Like we considering neither Eric nor I studied. That wasn't something that we did up until a certain point. As a matter of fact, I want to say the first time, I could be wrong. Eric could have been secretly been doing it the whole time, but to my knowledge, based off our conversations, we both hadn't. We didn't actually take on the concept of studying until, I want to say, around Eric played his first singles match, and we ended up playing Corruption that led to our breakup. We studied our ass off for that one. Maybe not the way that like you see the Batemans of the world, but like we put in time. We went and watched some movies in a genre that we weren't used to and just quizzed each other all night. And like we hadn't had a chance to catch up like that in a while. But I was very aware of what I did right, and that was run my mouth more so than play the game. And part of that is, now that I really know the game, what it takes to absorb all of that knowledge. Mm-hmm. I'm a creature of habit as well. I grew up on Black movies and nerd movies. There are certain nerd movies I didn't watch. Like, honestly, I've never seen Star Trek because I always hated that franchise. I was a Star Wars kid and I thought Star Trek was trash, so I just didn't have the desire to watch it. That hurts. And then I'm not a big fantasy guy, so I loved Harry Potter because I read the books, but like I never could get into Lord of the Rings. So I've seen half of Return of the King, half of Two Towers, just because it would randomly be on TV. And then I happened to go with my friends to see Return of the King. I've seen half of Fellowship, half of Two Towers, and I saw Return of the King with no context because my friends were like, we're going to see this fucking movie. And I was like, okay. So that being said, like if you notice, some of my better performances, there are categories which I blow through. It's not even a big deal. The Black History Month match, any of the patrons that have seen that exhibition completely held my own and kicked ass in that. But like, you know, if some of those categories aren't readily available in regular matches, I'm only going to do so good, you know what I mean? Without having to start from scratch. So that's kind of where, around when Christian was talking about, you know, if you guys lose again, I'm going to break up the team. Me and him kind of discussed, obviously I paired up with Stacy for the tournament, but after that, we had discussed me moving into managing because I knew, like, what I do know, I may not have the movie knowledge like packed away like some of these people do. I understand sports. I understand strategy. Like, I was a big StarCraft guy growing up. My dad forced me to like be in the chess club for years, but I honestly enjoyed it because I always found outsmarting people to be way more enjoyable than trying to muscle someone. And I would even argue that knowing all of the trivia knowledge is more of the brawn than the brain side of it. The brains are the mind games. The brains are you pull Medea at the Atlanta match and you put 3 points on that shit and you run with it, and then you end up flipping the lead. I thought Ben had that in the bag, that match, but I mean, Merle is Merle. But like, that's the type of shit that I fucks with. That's what I like to do. I like to do a promo and I say something that gets you under your skin. So now you're angry and you make a mistake. I'm the one that's like, let me pull out this L and hand it to Roxy type shit. Like, that's what I like to do. Because like, the funny thing is, it obviously didn't it affected Roxy, but she's not playing. So it doesn't matter. But I did it because I wanted to do a Bachelor bit to fuck with Jared. And whether or not it did, or he just didn't know the knowledge, whatever it was, it did get a little rise out of that team. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of stuff that I like to do. So
I'm just curious. I got a two-part question for that. Is there something before starting as a manager, you know you're going to be a manager and you had a conception or something, and arriving as being a manager is completely different? Is like a misconception or something you had anterior that really is not what you thought it was going to be once you start managing?
I won't lie that I didn't have a lot of respect for managers prior to kind of Christian suggesting it. As a matter of fact, I want to say the first time I actually had a little bit of respect for managers was when the Shire Wolves actually won the belt. Knowing how hard Emma was actually working with the two ladies, I got a different view on it. Before, it just seems like they just came out as part of the entrances and they talked. It didn't really seem like they were doing a lot. And I would make the argument that managers, honestly, like as much of a big foothold as they had for some of those teams and factions that had them there, I would even make the argument, because you could study with your friend, you can study with your fiance, you can study with whoever, your partner, that now managers actually are a thing that matter. I do think that those managers that were there before, they do have a little bit of an edge coming into this, whether it's because they inherited players or because they were used to that system. But I think the simple fact that you had to draft and you actually have to do things, like it puts shit on a whole different level for me. And if anything, once it was explained to me what Christian was planning on doing with this, let's fucking go. So,
all right, and
how would you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Look.
But my second part was, now you're no, I wouldn't say a rookie manager now. You seem to be pretty comfortable, but as still a rookie manager in his first season, what was the biggest challenge you have faced so far that you had to accomplish?
I would say the biggest part has been, honestly, just because the way life has been right now, has been trying to balance real life with the Schmoedown, especially because the main thing that a manager is serving to do, other than drafting the teams and drafting the factions, putting the teams together, etc., part of why Christian wanted to move into the system is that, as the chairman, he really is doing everything. Like, he puts the entire product on his back. Obviously, there are different people with different stuff, but like, that's his baby. He gets really excited about it. And so because of that, he's in charge of scheduling. He's in charge of storyline. He's in charge of venues. He's in charge of fucking everything. And he wanted to move into the system so that he's not having to chase down 100 players and figure out what everybody's schedule is. Now, by having factions, cool. All the people that are going to play are on a faction. And now the managers can literally do that. They can manage their players, and that can take a little heat off of him so he can make it bigger and better and better. On top of the fact that it added a dope-ass fucking concept of like a point system and actually having teams that people are rooting for and shit like that. Like, it adds the same element you get from a major league sport with like, being a Laker fan versus a Celtic fan, being a Cowboy fan versus a Giants fan. And added that, but then it also gave another functionality to people that he knows get a rise out of people, the Mees, the Dagninos, the Roxys, the Kaisers, and gives them an actual important thing to do at the same time. So now they're equally as relevant as the people playing the matches.
They really are.
Yeah, and I gotta say, take the L. Me and my fiance are big fans of The Bachelor. So when we heard that music and you got down on one knee, we're like, that's entrance to the year. I don't care what happens for the rest of the year. That's it.
I'm shooting for with that moment. I'm shooting for entrance of the year and moment of the year. I feel like it can fall under both. It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was a gamble. I felt good about our team. I felt like we were gonna take it, but it is a gamble, because if I do that, I look like a complete asshole when it's over. But by us winning, and by winning with a TKO, everybody was like, that was fucking brilliant. Where the fuck you get that shit from? Like, so but it was dope. It was a lot of fun. And the funny thing, I went up to Roxy because I'd been thinking about the whole way there. I was like, Jared's from The Bachelor. What am I gonna do? Like, I do want to mess with him a little bit because I don't really know his partner all that well. Hoyt. Was it Hoyt? No, it's not Hoyt. It was Vejvoda. It was Vejvoda. I was like, I don't really know Vejvoda all that well. Hoyt is with Dewberry.
Yep. The experiment.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, I don't really know Vejvoda all that well. I'm very familiar with Jared just because I'm also a huge Bachelor fan, and me and my girlfriend. And so I was like, oh, I'll stop at the store and I'll get him a rose. And then I was like, I should watch one of his videos just to make sure. And then I realized that Kalinowski gave him one in a match. I was like, I got to be more original than that. And I was like, all right, let's not go after Jared. Roxy will go along with it. And I told her right before I did it, before we went out for our entrances, I said, hey, I'm going to do something. Just go along with it. She was like, okay. You can kind of see the look on her face from start to finish where it's like, Roxy, can I like, and then me kind of using lovey-dovey language too. She was still kind of like, and then when it happened, she was just,
you realize though you have to reap what you sow, because expect her to pull something off next time, right? Or if next time you go face to face, she might be the one saying, hey, trust me, follow me on this, and you'll have no choice to do because she did it for you.
I mean, yeah, well, that's true. As far as trying to pull a prank, I agree with you. It's a lot easier to do it within studio. But I don't know if you saw the first match of the Star Wars tournament, because she tried to talk. She called me a loser. I was like, am I though? Because I didn't take the L last time. That was you, and then you took it again. Oh my, So.
Yeah. I was loving the promo videos going back and forth with you in your kitchen and pouring a drink and stuff. I think just all around this, the creativity of engagement has just been off the chain this season because of the circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
I want to bring it back though to you as a manager.
Sure.
How would you describe your management style, and what sets you apart from the other 8 managers?
A couple things. I am very aware of my strengths and my weaknesses, so I focus on the things that I know that I can do well. So I can help someone with character work. Theater degree. I'm an actor. Like I've been on like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, NBC, a bunch of random shit. And so for me, that's where my strength is. The black side of me talks a lot of shit, and then the actor side of me can like dig into a character. So I'm really good at like. Lon already had his idea for the delinquent. I talked to Paul about what direction he wanted to go, and he said he kind of wants to step away from being an ass because he wanted the persona he put on. I would never call Paul an ass, but he wanted to shift away from that. And I was like, all right, cool. So Lon wants to kind of be like fuck school, and he, and prime time. That's like I was like, cool. Why don't we do like a final exam theme type shit, and we can do a lot of jokes and puns about that, and you two are some of the most badasses in there. Like it's the last thing they take before they flunk. Like we can play with all that, so that's where I put my focus. But then I was also very careful in the first few people that I drafted. I wanted to try and find a study horse. I wanted to find somebody that's what they do. And Paul is huge into his studying, but even more so, I would say, or maybe on par, is Chandru. I was super impressed by his matches. I knew that he had all the ability. There was just like, Smets was on a tear at that point, which is the only real reason that he kind of lost. And I was like, cool. If by having the two of them, whoever I take the rest of, I feel like I can lean on them to help guide the team as far as the actual knowledge base. And Chandru has been invaluable. Like my guy is sharing his study guides, giving out tips like me, like he helps me like set up study sessions and all sorts of stuff. And so I'm right there with the players when they're studying, as far as like we'll do the Zoom calls, and instead of just doing that, I'll play my own version of Baby Carrots and pretend like I'm on the desk and stuff like that. But then to like mess with them, like I'll crack jokes and shit just so they're a little distracted. But then we'll stay up however long the person has and just do the damn thing. But I leave Chandru to kind of figure out how to help them get to where they need to go knowledge-wise. I focus on their personality, and then I kind of do what the manager is supposed to do, talk to Christian, worry about the promos, stuff like that.
Chandru is a student of the game. He he seems to really understand in and out of it. And you need that kind of player. Like every player has their own role, right? Is its own way to click and make that faction work as a unit. And Chanju, I can definitely see him as the brains. So yeah, that was a smart move when you drafted him.
Thank you. I mean, I look at a lot of people in life that, like, for example, huge Barack Obama fan, for obvious reasons, you know, doing the impression and everything. But one of the things that I really credit him for, if you look at his administration, regardless of how you feel about it, Barack, as intelligent as he is very aware that he is not the best at everything. So he would put people in positions that were really good at those things he's not good at. And that's what made him such, for most people that fucks with him, that's what makes him such a good president, is from the standpoint of, like, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in something I'm not. I'm going to go get an expert, have them kind of coach me where I need to be coached, but I let them handle that. And that's essentially what I felt out of Chanju. Because the minute I drafted Chanju, I'd originally drafted him just for his skill. When he came over and we talked for the first time, like, I was dealing with some shit at the time, but Chanju was like trying to talk to me, and the stuff he was just throwing at me, I was like, huh. And so then we spoke after the draft at length, and I was like, oh. So I can tap you for more than just getting points. Like, you genuinely can help me take this knowledge side of shit, and it worked out perfectly.
I'm just curious. We're talking about roles, right? Is there like a mama bear or papa bear of the faction that just like to cuddle all the players?
I guess I'm both. I'm like a single mom that's just out here being like, if I got to be your daddy and your mama, don't think I won't beat your ass, but also mama loves you. Like, that's kind of me, I guess. You know, and that's and then Chanju being like, you know, the middle son, like, I need, you know, he out here taking care of his siblings. So, but
I'm looking at McDonald's right now, flipping burgers for $12 a day, bringing the dough into the family.
Now, you talk about putting people in the right positions. You obviously have Ace going into the Star Wars tournament, then you have Halavic, and I believe Ace is also in the IG tournament coming up later.
Oyama.
Oh, Oyama, right. Talk to me about how you think those are going to shake out for you.
I think it's going to be great, man. Like, I mean, obviously you saw what Ace did. You know, Paul and Adam have to do their actual matches now, you know, because the Star Wars tournament is live and the IG tournaments are being pre-taped. But you know, same thing right there in the study sessions with them. The one thing that I kind of hate about it right now is that that's the only focus, which I understand. We're in weird times. Like, I really want to get to work with Frank and Sean, and we have, in the sense that, like, we've discussed the direction I want to move with them, and they're on board for it, which is actually part of the reason why they both decided to sign with S.W.A.G. But yeah, that's like, I'm very excited about what the boys are going to do. I think they're going to get us enough points to solidify our position, if not just overtake the exchange in general. I think that is very, very much within reach. And beyond that, I mean, you know, I told everybody else, especially because teams and singles are on pause for however long, make sure you're watching movies. Take the occasional note. Don't stress out. Like, when we start hearing, hey, it's time to move back into that, let's get back to work for real. But for right now, take care of your life. Like, and that to me, I think, is why my players come in so mellow. I'm not bashing them over the head that Schmoedown, again, is the end all be all. It's amazing. I love what we do. I love the fans. But I need people to be equally balanced in their life. So if you're a writer and you need to handle your shit, like Adam is very famously with Hyper RPG, he's got to work every day. Still, like, they're still streaming, and I'm like, dude, you take care of that. Like, don't worry, and you tell me how I help you study. We'll take care of it.
Oh, a balanced life is a successful life, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thank you. Yes, exactly. What's this phrase? Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah,
I think it's the same thing. Consider your real life your wife in this case, and consider the Schmoedown like whatever other shit as the husband you be doing and whatnot. And you know, Worry about the real shit. This will still be here. When we get to a point where the Schmoedown is like on, NBC and shit, and it's Sunday night Schmoedown, different story. Look, bitch, this is your job, so I need you to fucking watch a goddamn movie. But until then,
you're not in that mode. Yeah.
Until then, let's take this seriously and do what we do. And we'll find that groove one way or the other.
Talking about taking it seriously, Zipper actually had a little message for you. We had him out on a couple shows back. You can even rewatch it if you want. He said his mission was to take you and your faction down. How would you respond to that? What do you say to Zipper right now?
I mean, bitch, what have you done for me lately? I mean, you had one match and you lost against Stacey Howard. We're on a roll out here. Corruption, I believe, not corruption. The dungeon. That's the problem. They're both just forgettable ass factions this season. I mean, Shannon is only relevant because she runs her mouth really well, and Kaiser is only relevant because he went and got like a data from Star Trek. See, I know some Star Trek shit. He went and got a data to go out and spit out shit in a fucking suit made for a toddler, but it's fine. Like what else have they done? So I'm not worried about the dungeon or Zipper. If anything, if Eric wants to be relevant, he should be helping quiz Smets. I know Smets is the god. Like, he's proven how good he fucking is. But if you've seen Chandru play recently, he knows his shit. And if anybody can take him down, it's Chandru. So if Eric really wants to do something, he can help Smets because he's not going to be relevant otherwise.
You hear that, Eric? He's not shaking. He's not shaking. So you gotta respond back there. We're gonna get a inner Norton consultation battle going on here.
I love the fire. Obviously, we only have you for so long, but there's a couple of things we always like to ask anyone who comes on these shows, and we like to get to know the people behind the Schmoedown, if we will.
Yeah.
And our first question is there something about you that the fans don't know, or maybe isn't super well known, that would be surprising to them?
I mean, I'm kind of an open book. So like most people know I'm from Texas. Most people can tell that I'm black. Most people have heard my Obama impression. Like most of that I wear on my sleeve.
Okay.
I have 5 siblings. There's that.
I have a question for you. What did you want it to be when you were young? Like, what was the profession? Like, I want to be an astronaut or a judge or.
I knew pretty early on that I wanted to be an actor. Like, okay. I knew back in 2nd grade because I actually auditioned for. One, I played pretend a lot growing up, like a shit ton. I mean, I know all kids do, but I mean, like, would make full-blown like spaceship pillow forts, and then I'm hardcore the captain, and I'm making up all sorts of shit where it's like it's 3 ninjas in space, and like I'm Rocky, and my best friend is Colt, and his little brother's Tum Tum, and we're like, yo, my nigga, like they trying to come and take over our ship, like we got to handle this. So like I like I knew early on, and like I auditioned for Wishbone as a kid. I auditioned for the Barney movie, like a bunch of like random stuff. There's a fact. I worked for Radio Disney from like 5th grade until I graduated high school, actually.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like, I guess that was it. I mean, the other thing I considered random shit. Like I considered being a doctor because I was really good at math and science, but like I got to OChem in college and was like, yeah, I'm good. And then I wanted to be a fighter pilot until, a roller coaster broke on me at 10. And then I was like, I no longer want to ever do anything like this ever again. So
never again.
Fast. Before we go into our final question, this is something I wanted to ask you because you have really spectacular taste in music.
Oh,
personally, I'm wide spectrum, but you know your shit. Okay, if we go back in time and we would look at a 12-year-old Winston's playlist or mixtape, what can we expect to see on that mixtape?
Okay, hold on. 12. So when I was 10, it would have been 97. So you're talking 99. All right. Well, I mean, you would find the Slim Shady LP. Which funny story about that? I got the CD. It was parental advisory, and at the time that was a huge deal. You couldn't go and buy that shit, but like I got my older sister to buy it for me, and I listened to it one time. And I don't know if you've heard the Slim Shady LP, but it's a lot. And so I listened to it once, And I walked up to my mom. I was like, Mom, I got the CD. I know it has parental advisory on it. I shouldn't have done it. I'm so sorry. Like, take it away from me. And within 48 hours, I was fiending so hard for that album back. I destroyed her room. I had no idea where she put it. I tore her room the fuck up to find it. Which she was like, what the fuck happened here? And I was like, I don't know. And then ironically, the CD wasn't even hiding. It was just on her nightstand. It was on her nightstand out of her bed, and I just didn't notice it. So that a lot of Eminem, and then the Backstreet Boys. We don't talk about that. This is fine.
It was my first cassette. My first thing I bought on cassette was the first album of Backstreet Boys. I'm not gonna lie, man.
First CD I bought was in order. It was the Backstreet Boys, Everybody Backstreet's Back, the single. Then Michael Jackson's Bad, and then my third CD I bought was the fucking Slim Shady LP when I completely lost my mind. So there you go.
Nice.
I don't remember what I had for lunch. How do you guys remember the CDs and the orders?
Just because you know how certain things you don't forget. Like I'm sure you said you have a fiance, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember a lot of the planning up to the proposal, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
You for sure remember the actual proposal, unless you blacked out, which I've heard people do that. But I'm sure you remember like when you came up with a certain idea, what you were gonna do. Shit, like it's kind of like that. Like music has that thing on us that we can just remember. You know.
Yeah, because for me, I associate music to moments, memories, emotion. Like I'm pretty good in movie release date category. It's the same feeling, right? You can associate those things to an actual moment in life. Well, not always because I have a bad memory for substances, but usually. Right. But now go on to the last question, and it's one we really love because we get a lot of different answers. I'm curious about yours. If movies were to disappear forever, okay, what would be the last 3 movies you would watch as a final goodbye to movies?
Holy fuck. That is a dark question. So essentially, doctor says you're going to die. What's the last 3 movies you're going to watch?
It's basically aliens come and erase all movies.
No. I understand. I know what you're saying. Do you know the other thing of that? Hey, you have 48 hours to live. What are the last 3 movies your ass wants to watch? All right. I would have to say, I still always say that the Rush Hour 1 and 2 are one movie, so I'm going to count that as one. Probably either Inception or The Dark Knight. To put a gun to my head at the time, and I'll pick one, but I put them on equal footing. And then the last one. Oh God. Maybe it would probably be a debate between like Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, or maybe the original, because the original is a better movie, but 2 had, Ninja Go. Maybe that, or honestly, if you haven't seen it, Black Dynamite. That movie is fucking brilliant. I mean, it is funny in all the right places. It has some pretty good action in there, stuff like that. That would probably be the 3, which is wild, but because I know there's been like cinema, but like those would be my movies for sure.
Yeah, you see, it's not about like the best movies ever made. It's about like what connected with you most and made you fall in love with movies, right? I finally found my 3rd. It took me a while. Me, it's Stargate, Aladdin, the animation, and Gladiator.
Okay, wow, nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
I keep those very secret. But if I had to say, I'm gonna watch Princess Bride because that's a perfect movie.
Okay.
Probably Looper, because that's the only movie that I've ever got a notebook out and tried to like draw diagrams and figure out how time travel works. And then for my last one, I'd have to go probably, I guess I gotta do like a Star Wars. So probably New Hope.
Okay.
That would probably be the 3.
I'm probably gonna replace Black Dynamite now that I had more time to think about it with Spaceballs.
Oh, damn.
Give me a little bit of Star Wars, but give me the comedy at the same time. I'll take Spaceballs because I get to quote that shit all the time. Found anything yet? No, sir. How about you? No, sir. What about y'all? We ain't found shit. Like that's.
He used to comb the desert line with the big combs. Cracks me up every fucking time. Oh man, Mo Brooks.
I'm constantly saying, and now, Lone Star, you will lose because good is dumb.
I'm your father, brothers, cousins, sisters, former roommate. What does that make up? Absolutely nothing.
What's the name of this? What's the name of the speed? Redonkulous?
No. Ludicrous Speed. Go.
Yeah.
Never play this again. Never play this again.
All right. Look, this has been a blast, Winston. Thank you so much for being on. I really hope you'll be back on to teach a bit the dancing moves to white boys that need a bit of swag in their life. All right. So we need you back on, Winston.
Sounds good, man. I'd love to come back.
All right. So before we go, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. What are you doing? We got Winston. We're getting even more and more guests on every week. Don't miss a single thing, especially if he comes back and you're not subscribed. I'll be very mad at you. All right. So that being said, where can we find you, Winston?
You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred, TheSWAGGY BLERD. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Letterboxd. My Patreon, patreon.com/theswaggyblurred. I've been doing the quarantine series. My patrons get that first before it hits the public. And I've got some other surprises, including I've done a number of interviews with some of the members of Swag. I've got a few more coming up soon. And then other than that, Blurred's in the Hood. If you haven't seen that show, it's me and Jay Washington. I guess he went by the Urban Gladiator in Schmoedown. The resident supervillain. It's two blurs, black nerds, for those that don't know, just talking everything: movies, TV, music, pop culture, Black Twitter, which is its own thing. If you don't know about that shit, like it's wild. We just out here wilding. So definitely come and check that out. And then once quarantine's over, you'll see me back on SCN Live.
Can't wait, man. Your present is it not. They're not doing a good job, but I miss those reactions and like you spontaneously dying because of Brett Cheddar and things. I miss that, man.
I mean, Brett is on some other level shit, man. He's probably, I would argue, like top 3 funniest people I've ever met in my life. Like the guy is insane. So yeah, I miss him too.
All right. And yeah, Dave, where can people find you if they need to find you for some reason? I don't know why.
Well, since you never introduced me at the top of the show, hi, I'm Dave also. You can find me on Twitter at Leaves Me Alone, on Instagram at Baby James Lees, and come over to Schmoes of the North, subscribe, join the Facebook group. It's an amazing community of not only Canadians, but just good people being good to each other.
Yes. And that being said, you can find me on Twitter at Norton Schmoes, and right now probably in bed because I'm tired. All right.